Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So today I was trading the Euro-USD, and as you can see at the beginning of the video, the balance was at 47,340. I was looking for some high-impact news announcements. It was a session filled with news, so I wasn't hesitant on getting set up for lots of potential volatility. That's exactly what I was looking for. So in this video, you're going to see shortly, I was not taking a trade at the moment because there was just no movement in the market. I was waiting for an expansion of that current range that we're looking at. The range was about 10 or so pips long, and just under the minimum requirement for me to start day trading. So what I did was just wait, sat on my hands, and did not take any trades. It took quite a while just for price to start setting up, as there was some news, and moments before news announcements, it's usually a quieter market. I started seeing a break of support and daily support, and prices started going on down. It was obvious to me that we were in a potential bearish trend for the day. I looked at the macros. I did see that there was a possibility of Euro USD dropping about 100 pips or so, and it just was a no-brainer for me. I didn't act right away because I don't take impulsive trades from past performance. Hopping in a sell just it's not part of my strategy, even though it did just rip down about 30 to 50 pips. There was no FOMO. I was very calm. I was ready to strike whenever and just waited for the market to slow down. In just a moment, you're going to see what I did after that. Nothing. Just sat on my hands. So every minute that passed by, I was waiting for some sort of slowdown. This right here, this minute, was right before news. As you can see, there was some Euro news. And that was the last bit of news, or at least medium to high impact news, before the rest of my session was clear for trading. So I just sat that one out as well. And in just a moment, you're going to see price start to set up for my first order. I started seeing a drive to the lows. I started seeing buyers were slowing down, and at that point, it was just a no-brainer to me. Let's get into some sells, but not right away. Every time I look for opportunity to sell, I have no optimal point to put my stop loss. So the risk, the reward did not justify the risk that I had to take. So normally I take about 4 pip stop losses, sometimes a little bit more. And all of these entries were just did not permit for any type of short just yet, because my stop loss would have had to be, I don't know, at least 10 pips. So trading in volatile market conditions like this is something that I've done in the past, so I was familiar with my setup, just waiting for the pattern to unfold. That was my first trade, but then I realized that my entry was a little bit early and my risk was a little bit too large. So now you can see that I canceled that trade. I took a tiny loss. It was pretty much break even. I just gave the broker back some commission, and I continued looking for some potential entries. I did say that price was to continue surging up. I was going to start looking for some possible longs to the upside, and that's exactly what I was doing. There's no trade yet. So I'm just waiting and waiting. Waiting for the right opportunity to strike. I was interested in a buy, but right then and there's no time for a buy. Then I started seeing market reversing. It was hitting some resistance of the past 15-20 minutes. That's when I was like, okay, if it fails to break past these prior resistances, then the buyers clearly aren't strong enough, and I don't like buying falling knives like this. So the market was falling, it was dropping significantly, and I was just like, okay, if I don't get a proper buy-in, then I might have to sell. But if the sellers don't take it back down yet, there's a chance that I can actually buy it. So there's a couple things I was thinking. I'm always neutral in my bias, so it was a no-brainer for me. Just wait for entry. There we go. I took another sell, and that was my sell because I did get an optimal reward to risk. And this is the first trade that you see. It's actually taken off to the downside. I was managing my position, and it took a little while, a couple minutes too long for price to really start to move. But as you can see, my stop loss remained the same, and I do not really move my stop loss too far back. I always move it forward along with price action because that's the way you should be trailing your stop losses. Should never be moving it too far backwards. If price is going against you, keep your stop loss. But if it's in your favor, you drag it to lock in profits, and that's what I did. So I collected my first trade, my first winner of the day, and that was I believe it was about 3R. I was going for 4R because of the movement. It was plenty of movement, but I was only able to capture 3R from that. And in just a moment, I was gonna possibly be done for the day because I've been trading for over an hour at this point. But I did see more potential opportunity because it was moving, it was flowing, it just broke out of another range and created a new daily low. So that's when I actually decided on sticking around for a bit longer. My endurance has been increasing because I've been practicing more. So I was able to continue trading even though I just took a winner. You should treat every trade the same way. Like, you shouldn't be too excited over a winner, and you should not be too upset over a loser. So at this very moment, I'm just looking for another entry. I was neutral still because I started seeing price was reversing. I didn't really see much happening for the past several minutes, so it was either profit taking or a possible reversal. More than likely, it was profit taking because I didn't see much buyer stepping in after I collected my profits. So I was getting ready for another setup. I knew this was a false breakout to the upside because there's absolutely no buyers down there in that little region. That's when I was waiting for a breakout of that little tiny range that you see on the far right side of the chart. In just a moment, you're going to see me potentially, like I said, if I were to go long, I need to see price break up at least 15 pips north, and it started doing that. So I was a little interested in buying it, not going to lie. The sellers did slow down, the buyers did pick up, and at this very moment, we could see that the sellers started stepping back in. So, at this point, you kind of got to act. So in just a moment, you're going to see price start to rise to northbound. And I was actually waiting to see if the market was bottoming out because normally I don't trade market bottoms. At least I don't sell into bottoms. So this was going to be a true bottom. I needed to see more continuation towards the upside, and I was possibly going to take a long at this point. It was a little too early for me to go long, so I was waiting for a breakout more further north, creating new swing highs, and then I was going to possibly go long. So right around this point, you can see that price was surging up, and it was a no-brainer for me. Look for a long if it's continuing to, show buying pressure. Momentum was increasing. Everything was just kind of showing me signs to go long. So I did see a little pullback to get in on, and it was optimal for me. Risk reward, everything was solid. But then I looked to the left. Shortly after I went long right here, I looked to the left, and I seen that there were some stops above. But then I started seeing how volatile the market was moving against my position once I entered, and I realized there's a possible reversal happening, and this could be a fake out to the upside. I'd rather go with the fake out to the upside than a continuation up north. So I didn't want to predict that it was going to break out, and I don't like projecting targets that aren't really, statistically proven in my back testing to work. So this was kind of a far out trade. It just didn't work out, as you can see shortly. It started reversing, and that's when I was ready to take my next order. So as price is starting to reverse now, I'm looking for my next potential entry. I had a little, rough beat right right there. It was just like a small, small trade right here. This is it right here. So I did try to take that long. As you can see, it was moving just a little bit. And yeah, right here, it was just kind of like not going anywhere. But I had a trailing stop. I was trying to just utilize my trailing stop. I had a take profit point that was far out there, and it was moving in my favor. As you can see, price was hiking up, and it just started struggling. Like I said, I projected my target, everything, but I was like, if it falls any lower, I'm gonna get out at a small loss, and that's exactly what was happening. I ended up taking a tiny loss of 0.5 R because that was half of my risk that I originally took on the trade. And yeah, that was like the only like real like losing trade that I took. So you can see right there, P&L plus 2.5 R. No worries, I was willing to continue trading. If it wasn't going up, it was a no-brainer to me. Very obvious at that point. Let's take a short to the downside, lower end of the range. If it went against me again, we're in a whipsaw, choppy market conditions that, it's either my performance is, I'm underperforming for the day, or the market conditions are not favorable for my trading. So I was going to stop trading for the day if I got stopped out again. But it did go. And I got tagged into my short and was just managing the trade on the way down. In a moment, you're going to see if price did reject and hit my stop loss. I realized my stop loss was a tad bit too tight. My entry was a little bit late, and I didn't allocate for the space that I did give myself. Whenever I get into late entries, I give myself like a half pip or to a pip extra room, because I'm the one that is entering the trade late for further confirmation. So sometimes price could come up and stop hunt me, and I just didn't want that to happen today. So it did go in my favor. I started seeing a move, started seeing a continuance of that bear trend. And in just a moment, you're going to see my final trade of the day. So right now we're at 2.5 R, right? So in this last stretch of this video, you're going to see some movement. And this is when I started taking advantage of everything. So this is my second winner right there. I took it at the end of the range. I realized that I didn't want to once again, I didn't want to project price to break any lower because it hasn't happened yet. And I don't like to predict future price movement. So I did manage to collect some more, another 3R right there. So you can see I'm up 5.5 R at that time. I risked 4 pips and I got back 12. And now it's still moving. So I seen that and I was like, you know what? We might actually be in another bear trend. So I was looking for continuation. I was looking for anything to really trigger me into the trade. It started moving back on up kind of deep, and I was not interested at that moment. But once it started moving back down and it showed rejection of buyers, and that the buyers were too weak, that they were so weak they couldn't even bring it up 50% of. So at this point, I was in my last trade of the day. As you can see, it took off very fast. Actually, this was not the last one, but yeah, it was. There you go. It was another 3R easily. It was brought my P&L to plus 8.5 R for the day. And as you can see, at that moment, I was pretty much done for the day. Biggest winning day of the year. And I look forward to repeating this all next week as market volatility does pick up and the global events start to unfold.